Good morning and welcome to this learning video. In Microsoft Excel, oftentimes we use dates in our workbooks for a variety of reasons, and many times I see people taking too much time in entering certain dates where they can let the software do it for them automatically. So what I have here is an example of a function called EOMONTH, which stands for end of month. And you can see that I typed in today's date, April 8th, in double quote marks, comma, 0. And I will discuss what that means. Basically, the 0 stands for how many months forward do I want to insert the end of month from today's current date. Well, I want it to show the current end of month. That's why it starts with a 0. You'll see on the cell right underneath it, there is a 1. And because we're in April, it adds 1 month and will spit out May 31st. And then one more, you can see I have a 2. Again, that's 2 months away from current date of April 8th, 2025. So that's called the EOMONTH function. And perhaps this could be a useful feature when you immediately want to know the last day of a month. Now, next to that, I have something similar, but what Excel will do is automatically fill in this case, for an entire year, 12 months worth of end of month dates. So we have to expand on it. As you can see, the function right here looks slightly different than the first one that I showed you, because embedded inside of the end of month function is the date function. So I would like to show you what the date function looks like so I can explain how that works. You can see that the date function has 3 arguments. The first argument is year, which would be 2025, month, which right now would be April, but I want it to start for January, and then the day. What day do I want to show? Well, I'm referencing the end of month, so it would take the last day. So that is the construction of the date function in Excel. Now, embedded inside of that is another function called the sequence function. And by the way, here is the example of the date function with just today's date, as I mentioned. The sequence function is a little bit more challenging, and I'd like to explain this area right here, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. And then I'll explain these 2 columns right after that. So on the sequence function, the number 5 represents how many cells do I want to go down, and it's 5. The number 1 represents how many rows do I want, and there's only, I'm sorry, how many columns do I want? There's only 1 column here showing the numbers. Number 6 says what number do I want to begin with? And then the last argument, number 2, is you'll notice what incremental value do I want? 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. Similarly now, another sequence function example I have here, you'll see that instead of sequence 5, 1, 6, 2, it's 5, 2, 10, 2. So the 5 means how many rows down do I want to go? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The second argument, 2, is how many columns? The third argument is what do I want to start with? Number 10. And then the last argument is what is my increment? 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, and so forth. So it will fill in all the numbers starting with 10 with an increment of 2 going down 5 rows and across 1 column, reading in order sequentially from left to right, and then down to the next row and the next row, the next row, and the next row. So taking that, putting it inside of this right here, I am saying I want the EOMONTH function to spit out the date, as I mentioned, is following the format of year, then month, then day. Well, it understands it as that, but I formatted it so that it will come out looking like the day, followed by the name of the month, followed by the last day of the month, followed by the year. That's how the EOMONTH function will spit out the data. And then looking at this, it's using sequence 12. When it sees this 12 after the sequence function, that is how many that I would like to have spit out. So January is the first, and then December 31st is the last. Now, the 1, as you can see here, is the first month. Again, reiterating that this number 1 that is seen sequence function, that represents how many columns do I want it to go down. If you recall, you had to reference the number of columns here in the sequence function. And then this right here, 0, says start at the very beginning of the year 2025. That's what the 0 means. And then automatically, because it sees 12, it will sequence 11 more, which takes it to the end of this current year. If I would change this 12 to 24, watch what's going to happen. When I press enter, you'll then see that it added 12 more, and then all I need to do in order to get it this way is not use serial numbers, but to format it as something that's understandable, like date format. I go ahead on my home tab and I choose the appropriate long date option. And there you can see it, just like I mentioned, after the first 12, there will be 12 more months. As you can see, January 31st, 2026 is the end of month that follows immediately from December 31st, 2025. So it works. I just want you to see how the embedding of two functions inside of the end of month function can very easily customize this. Now, again, the beauty of this whole lesson that I'm showing you is I can just go right up here to the very first entry where it has the end of month function, date. I can change this from 2025 if I want to 2026, and maybe I only want to see 6 months instead of 2 years. When I change the 24 to a 6, I press enter, and you'll see what happened is it removed all my previous entries and only shows me the 6 months from beginning of 2026 moving forward. All right. If you have any questions, reach out to me. I can be reached at tom@leadingedgebizservices.com. Thanks and have a great day.